Good day everybody, and how are you all doing? Hoping you are all keeping well. Welcome again this evening from my house to your house, and this evening that we are doing our proteins. So this would include our meat, poultry, fish, eggs, cheese, pulses, lentils. Proteins are very good for bodybuilding and repair. They contain iron and they contain zinc and some of our B vitamins, which are very good for nerve stability, particularly vitamin B12. So with proteins, with meats in particular, if you think of a lot of meat, the goodness in the meat is in the leanest part of the meat. So fats actually would be better cut off or drained, or skin removed, maybe from the chicken, turkeys, things like that. The reason for that is hard fats are what are known as saturated fats. So saturated fats can actually build up on our blood vessel walls and can reduce our blood flow, and also it can stop our blood flow, thus giving us heart attacks and strokes. And I'm going to bring this wee sample just a wee bit closer. This is an example of our blood vessel walls, and you can see where the fatty deposits have been laid down. Now certainly genetics can play a part in cholesterol, but so too do what I call the hard fats or the saturated fats. So what it does is then you can see the fatty deposits there. So as we turn this round, you can see that the blood flow is actually very slow, and although it's slow, it can also stop as well. So it's recommended nowadays to eat 2 portions of fish a week, particularly your oily fish like salmon, mackerel, herrings, sardines. Oily fishes are very good because they have your omega-3s, which have a tendency to stop the blood clotting. So very, very good. Also, when we're buying maybe dairy produce and cheese, things like that, we're better going for what they call the lower fat. So say for example, if you were buying yogurt and cheese, going for the lower fat varieties. Grating your cheese, it looks a lot more, but in actual fact you're using less of it. With your chicken, take the skin off the chicken. Also with this, we're going to talk about the salt, because we mentioned there about heart disease. Try and reduce or do without salt if possible. Salt actually comes quite naturally in a lot of foods. We really need only about 6 grams a day, which is actually about a teaspoon. So actually replace your salt with herbs and spices. Salt tends to be a bit like sugar. I don't know if any of you may have went off it at different times of your life, the sugar. And if you tried to drink a cup of tea or coffee with sugar in it now, you couldn't do it. Salt tends to be exactly the same as that it's something that we can do without. Because what salt does, it can raise your blood pressure, it increases your risk of getting heart disease, and increases your risk of getting strokes. So try and keep it at a minimum. Processed foods do tend to contain a lot of salt, so be very, very careful. And if we're possible, to avoiding your hard fats, if you use like olive oils and your rapeseed oils, they're very, very good for you. Always bear in mind too, but it doesn't matter whether they be the hard fats or the oils, they are still quite high in calories, so just bear that in mind. And just looking at this, I'll bring this a little bit closer. This is actually the equivalent of a pound of fat, which actually can be gained if you have an extra 500 calories a day. So it doesn't look too good there, does it? Not very healthy looking. So I have mentioned about the cholesterol and what it does in your blood vessels, Another way that you can reduce your cholesterols is there's like cold drinks, which are very, very good for anybody that does have problems with their cholesterol. And another way of doing it is to exercise. Exercise actually has a way of reducing the cholesterol as well. So this evening we're cooking for the choice for the protein week. I'm going to do spaghetti bolognese because it's one of the many favourites, and it's one of those meals that you can just add on everything. A great way with families of getting all the vegetables in, but the taste of all the herbs and spices coming through. It's very hard to distinguish one taste against another. So as you see in the plate there, look at the many colours again this evening. Something I love to put through all my food. So I'm going to start cooking, so come on over. Okay, so look at this, here we have it. So I started off putting very little oil on the pan, and I added the bacon. Now you will notice as I go along I don't mention putting salt onto it at all, because already with the bacon we've got plenty salt in that. So what I've added is I finally cut up the bacon into small bits. I actually grated a carrot just to make it finer, got the celery, chopped it up so fine, added the onion and added the whole lot together, and as it was softening up like it is now, I then added some rosemary and garlic, and honest to goodness, the smell at the minute is So what I'm going to do now is I'm ready to add my minced steak. Now I've opted, as you see, for the 5% fat in the minced steak. These come with varying percentages, but always go where you can for the lowest percentage in fat. So just break it all up nice and small. I always find that this one actually does break up nice and easily. So we're going to just work away at that now and round up the mince. So there we go. So all this goodness and colours. Would you ever thought of putting carrots into a spaghetti bolognese before? I know when I used to do in the past, and I came across this, I was looking up healthy recipes one day and I came across this with the carrot and celery. Even myself, I couldn't eat celery ordinarily, but as I say, with the flavours, the herbs and spices that they're putting through this already, gosh, the taste just was so lovely that you cannot distinguish between one and another. So we're guaranteed getting our vegetables in place. So again, another fully nutritious meal. It's always preferred and recommended that with your proteins, with your meats and your poultry, to stew, casserole, roast, dry fry, microwave, poach and steam. Good healthy ways of cooking. And maybe if you're cooking chops or a bit of steak, cut off. I know some people like to keep the fat on, but it's recommended to remove fat. So I'm going to let that cook away until the mince browns. I'm going to add some water to my spaghetti and we'll put that on and see how this turns out. And there we go. There's our meat all browned and looking good and ready for the next helping. So again, another splash, more colour. So we're going to put in a wee bit of spinach, just personal choice, you don't have to add that yourself, and some basil chopped up, then a red pepper. So anything that you think that you would like to add, if you've any other, maybe yellow peppers, orange peppers, green peppers, whatever you like to put on yourself, you add. or maybe if there's something that you don't like in this particular recipe, just don't bother adding it. So that's them all in. Some your chili so finely chopped there, you can see. So we're going to put all that in. And another wee bit of taste is some oregano. So there we go. So a teaspoon of our oregano. There we go. Sprinkle it all over it. And I'm going to add some pepper. And I particularly like Worcester sauce actually on the spaghetti bolognese. So get rid all up there. And I'm going to add some tinned tomatoes. So there we go. So that's some mix, isn't it? Oh gosh, the smell. If you could smell it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. And you can just top it off here with some mushrooms. So all looking good. So I'm going to let that cook for another 5 minutes or so, and by that time the spaghetti will be ready. Now, you can also, it's recommended to use tomato puree, but 2 dessert spoons, but again, we can use the Heinz sauce, tomato puree, or this, whatever you have handy. So 2 dessert spoons of them. Give it a wee stir. Now, if you're feeling that the spaghetti bolognese is a wee bit too thick, you made up as got a beef stock cube, and just add whatever you think. A wee tiny bit. Just adds that nice beefy flavour. Look at that. Oh goodness. And there we go. Absolutely beautiful. So, and I'm just going to add another wee bit because I'm going to now add some Parmesan cheese. So remember, this meal would cater for 4 people. So I have 100 grams of Parmesan cheese grated here. So I'm going to put the most of it in and leave another wee bit for the topping. So again, that will absorb and to just melt away. So there you go. So you see just the consistency there. So I'll give that a few minutes and it'll be ready to serve. So see you then. Well, and there we have it. Our spaghetti bolognese, and without being biased, it's absolutely delicious. So what you can do then is the remaining Parmesan cheese, sprinkle over the top, and a little bit of parsley on top. Well, I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. Can't wait to get stuck in. So again, thank you for listening. I hope you really enjoy it. And again, if you have anything that you would like to give me a tip on, please do, and catch you next time.